the 5 stages of cash physical therapy success. This got brought up because we had one of our clients leave us a review this morning highlighting the stages of change that we have seen hundreds of cash physical therapists and physical therapy entrepreneurs go through over the years as Ben and I have worked with them. And it's just so common, and most people at the beginning stages never see it coming. And so today we want to highlight kind of the stages of personal growth as physical therapists get started in entrepreneurship, as they start to see success and get busier and busier, and how their mindsets around what's possible for them start to change, because it is always the same. We had Kayla. I want to share this. I'm not going to read this whole review because it is a big one. If you want to check it out and learn her full story, check out the video in the description beneath this video after we get it uploaded and shared. But Kayla, when she just started her practice, she was just a side hustle. She started it in May of 20, or started it in the beginning of 2023 and went full time in May. And all she wanted to do was have a lifestyle practice. I think, Ben, would you agree when most people start their practice, all they're looking for is like a better work-life balance than the environment that their career and their job kind of created for themselves? Would you agree?
Yeah, they're more so looking for an escape from their current position and experiencing burnout, and they don't really have any intention of actually growing and scaling a business. That's not what they get into. There's like, I still want to be able to stay in the profession, and the only way I see this being possible is actually doing my own thing. Yeah, creating a lifestyle business. And for those that might not know exactly what the lifestyle business is, it's more so like, hey, I just want to be able to see patients myself. I don't really intend to grow and scale or have employees, and that's totally fine too. But yeah, that's more of a lifestyle business. So I think she was, only wanted to see like maybe patients three times per week and then be able to spend time with her kids. But yeah, I'll let you read the rest of the review.
Right. Right. It's basically just a contractor. It's kind of like a side hustle, kind of hobby kind of business. But basically, she wanted just to work 3 days a week so that she could spend the rest of the week with her kids. And so she ended up joining our program because she couldn't figure out the lead acquisition piece of this. And I just want to read you this brief section of this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm in a kind of I'm in kind of a unique situation where I was wanting more of a lifestyle business for working in the clinic 3 days a week and being with my kids the other days. I joined the book program in September. From September to October to November, my revenue doubled. I took a dip in December, but then hit a high revenue in January, and I've hit my monthly revenue goals for the whole first quarter of 2024. I'm going to skip ahead to where she says, she can finally say with confidence that she can reproduce these results and continue to grow. Then all the way down at the bottom, this is where the transformation piece comes in. She said, I'm so thankful that I made the investment and did the program. I was totally skeptical in the beginning before joining, but I have no regrets. The program is an investment in terms of money, time, and effort, but if you put in the work, you see the results. I've spent a lot of time reflecting on the last few months to decide what I really want to do. I initially started my business as a lifestyle business, but now I'm so excited and just love growing my business that I'm ready to hire someone. I'm so excited for the future. And the reason that I chose to share this story, or Ben and I decided to share this story, is because when most people start their practice, it's just to escape a job that's not valuing them, that's overworking them, underpaying them, and they just want to start a business. And they have no vision for building a team or opening multiple locations. But what always ends up happening is once they realize how simple it truly is to acquire patients and to learn the skill of sales, they realize it's like, wow, there's really no limit to how far I can take this. And once they start to get busier and busier but realize that there's so much more opportunity out there, they realize that they're really bottlenecking their own life potential by not growing more. So like, Ben, what have you noticed in the people that we've worked with who have gone from like just wanting to fill their schedule to now wanting to build a team? Did you ever have an experience like that where like you didn't plan on building this 7-figure behemoth that you built, where you had this moment where it's like, okay, I see what I can accomplish now, and I gotta build a team now?
Yeah, I never really planned to grow it to this extent and whatnot. I did always want to like grow a team and bring on team members, but I think that's where people, like the person that you just mentioned in that review, is they get to this point and they're like, holy crap, this business can serve me way more than I ever thought possible, way more than just replace my income, for my current job. They realize what's truly possible when you actually grow and scale a business in an effective and profitable way. So yeah, I remember there was actually one instance I was on a run and I just finished my run and I was walking back home and I was pulled up my calculator because I had just hired on my first PT. And I was like, what does it look like if I can bring on somebody else after this? And I was already decreasing my patient caseload. And I was just like running the numbers and looking at like what my life could look like by being able to really grow this thing. And I was also already starting to see some time freedom from it. I'm bringing on this one PT. I'm like, heck, if I can bring on 2 PTs and a front desk, like I'm fine to be able to work my way out completely out of patient care and work remotely and really kind of just change the entirety of what my day and my life looks like. And so right then and there is when I decided like, hey, I really want to grow and scale this thing because I can see how much and different ways that this business can actually serve me than just bring on one PT or just staying treating patients myself.
Right. And it's always kind of cool to see that light switch kind of turn on when like you realize like, wow, I actually have like control over this thing. And for each new person I can bring on, like I can almost double the amount of time freedom and financial freedom that I have. And then it's like after that, it's almost harder to not grow than to just keep replicating what you already know works again and again and again. Um, it's almost like no one realizes that business, although it's like it is complicated and you do have to like work hard, but it is far easier than most people actually think it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like I see this happen. And I think this happened with exactly what the person that in this review. Like a lot of times we really work with a lot of go-getters. Like to be able to go into the program, you have to be kind of a killer. You have to be a go-getter. Like you have to execute and
Believe in yourself.
yeah, you believe in yourself. And there's been multiple times, like I've said it to myself, usually at least once a year, where I'm like, okay, once I get to this point, I'm going to kind of take a step back and, just kind of, let's just stay here and kind of coast here and just go from there and whatnot. I get to that point and I'm there for like 2 or 3 months and I'm like bored. And it's like, no, let's push this thing. Like, let's do this. And so I think that's something that also impacts people is they might get to this level that they wanted to achieve. And then they get there and they're like, this is awesome, but I'm also kind of bored because I'm not, they're so growth focused and growth oriented that they want to continue to push it and see what's possible too. So I think that's another side of the coin that contributes to people wanting to continue to grow and scale the business and really truly have a business versus a lifestyle.
Right. And it's actually kind of challenged my beliefs. I used to think that there's just like entrepreneurial personality types where there's just some people who are meant to be entrepreneurs and some who aren't. But over the last like 4 years, as we've been working with newer and greener business owners who had never intended to build a business, I'm realizing that it's not the case. It's almost just a belief shift. Because once someone gets like a taste of like what they're able to accomplish on their own, and then realize that it's like the difference between where you're at and people like you or I who have built 7-figure businesses is just continuously refining the skills that they had already built. And it's so addicting and it's so fun. And we've seen dozens and hundreds of people at this point go from like never thinking they could own a business to running multiple clinician teams and like being able to go on vacation and retire their spouses so that they can stay at home to help raise the kids. So I'm curious, like, what do you think? Is entrepreneurship something that people are just born into, or is it like a switch that anybody could flip?
Yeah, I think there's people that are born to that just comes more naturally too. But I do feel like anybody can really make that switch if they really want to. It might just become naturally more easy for some people. Might be a little more difficult, but I think everybody kind of has that switch. Anybody that's kind of a really if you're a go-getter and want to be successful, and that's the thing too. A lot of people that go to physical therapy school, like you got to get your doctorate. You have to have kind of some gumption and some motivation and personal like wanting to become the best version of yourself and whatnot. So I think physical therapists because they have gotten their doctorate and also are very, very much
Yeah.
oriented, they are more apt to be able to be successful as an entrepreneur because they already have that motivation and kind of that drive, more or less.
Yeah. Definitely have to have grit to get through it. That's no question there.
Yeah.
So everyone, there's 5 stages that we've noticed people go through. It's basically they are burnt out in a job, or they're quickly realizing that the career that they had chosen isn't everything that it's been kind of told to them that it was going to be like. And so they decide that they need to start some sort of side hustle to build a business. So side hustle is stage one. And then once they start to find a little bit of success within that side hustle, or even worse, if they don't find success, but they're still putting in the hours to try to grow this thing, they find themselves becoming a job owner. Ben, you want to kind of paint the picture of what being a job owner is like in cash physical therapy? Because there's a lot of people who are trapped in this, thinking that's what entrepreneurship is.
Yeah, it's not I think that's actually the toughest spot of the
Mm-hmm.
journey is somebody that wants to, they're in this job, they're in a high volume clinic and they're like, I don't know how if I'm going to be able to stay in this profession. And then they're like, I need to start maybe starting cash-based practice so I can see patients, how to treat patients how I want to, treat one-on-one, yada, yada, charge what I'm worth. So they start this business and they are like, I just need to get to 20, 25 patients per week and then I'm going to replace my income. But what they don't realize is, yes, and they think, oh, everything's hunky dory. I'm just seeing 20, 25 patients. That's only 25 hours of work a week. No, you're going to be closer to 50, 60 plus. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where people are, they get to that point and they're like, damn,
Oh.
yeah, like, damn, what, like, I got to sustain this. I have to continue to do
Yeah.
marketing, continue to do
Oh
workshops weekend.
shit.
Yeah, I have to do all this. I have to continue to do sales. I have to continue to do all this stuff, billing, everything. And they're just like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to sustain this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they realize, hey, I actually need to get some help, and I need to hire because this lifestyle business actually isn't a lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
business that a lot of other coaches and other people in the industry paint it as and whatnot. So I think
Right.
it's the toughest part to be in business, in my opinion, is when you're seeing that 20, 25 patients and trying to do everything else on top of it.
100%. That's the hardest place to be because you've got a new job where you have maybe a full schedule, but you've also taken on the responsibility of like 3 other people's jobs, and your boss is an absolute lunatic because it's you, and you have to be crazy to be in this game and only want to make $100,000 a year. You almost have to work. You have to work harder to do that.
Yep.
And so that's why this transformation and what Kayla, Dr. Kayla, whose review I shared with you, that's the transformation that she just realized, where she's like, she has to continue to sustain this long term, and that takes so much more work than just bringing someone else in to offload some of those clients. And so that's when you uh, most PTs transition into the from job owner to business manager, where they bring on an admin or they bring on a PT, but they don't know how to build the systems and the operations to allow that practice to run smoothly, meaning the business still fully relies on their effort and their time because they don't have good training systems, they don't have good leadership skills, and that PT is honestly not likely to stick around long because they're quickly realizing that they aren't in a position where they're going to receive a lot of training, where they're going to be able to grow and develop as a professional under that clinic, because there's just not enough systems and structure in place to facilitate that sort of thing. Does any stories or people come to mind who are kind of at that stage where they built a team, but they have no idea what they're doing and they're kind of still stuck running the day to day?
Yeah, that's the thing too, is I see a lot of people that will get to that 25 patient caseload, then bring somebody else on, and now you're trying to treat patients. Now you're trying to figure out how to lead somebody and also train them and how to be effective in sales. You're trying to help that PT overcome imposter syndrome, trying to teach them how to
Mm-hmm.
do sales, how to be proficient, make sure that they're treating patients at the same high level that you expect them to. And it's a lot. So that's another thing that's too is really tricky is being able to build a team and also learn how to lead. That's the thing too that I see a lot of people struggle with is
Right.
how to lead people. As you're dealing with different personalities and that doesn't come natural to a lot of people
Right.
and whatnot.
Because
So
they forget, and I see this all the time. This is a podcast episode in and of itself, but so many of them expect people to come in and have the same level of context and perspective that they do, even though it took them a year or two just to get their business off the ground, to be able to learn how to sell and how to market themselves and to believe in the vision that they created for themselves. Because most don't even believe in their own vision at first, if they have a vision at all. Yet they expect their first hires to come in having full belief in what it is they're trying to build, and also have the context and the perspective to be able to sell cash therapy. And I had a conversation with one of our clients because he was just reaming out one of their PTs because they just couldn't sell. They just weren't following the process. Their package conversion rates were horrible. They're getting like follow-up visits and everything, but they just weren't converting at the level they needed to. And so in their mind, they were just like, they just don't have what it takes. They're like a B player. They're just not an A player. But they had zero ways of measuring their success. They didn't have any sort of meeting structures in place or training structures in place to help that person learn how to do those things. And so I guess to put a cap on that, because that is really a whole episode we could spend talking about that. There are no like if your team is a bunch of B players, it's because you aren't an A player leader. Okay, it's most people think they have horrible staff when really they have no idea how to lead a team and train a team. They just expect everyone to be great, and that's why people get stuck within this stage. But it's an important skill that everyone has to figure out on their own. It's hard to just watch modules and train people to just be a great leader. Would you agree with that? It's kind of like you got to just trial by fire your way there.
Yep, and this is something that I struggled with and still work through is there's different personalities between the owner and usually staff. There's just a different mindset around things. And so me personally, like I don't need somebody to encourage me or hype me up to get me to do something. Like I just have the drive to be able to do it on my own, and I'm just going to implement it. If I need to get something done, I implement it. Staff isn't always that way. They need to sometimes everybody's got different personality styles. Like some do need that encouragement. Some want that, some thrive on being monetary compensated or money driven. Some are more so recognition based driven. They want to be recognized in front of their team members. Some people are motivated on autonomy. And so you've got to figure out what each individual's motivation is and leverage that, because it's not always the same. And that's the thing that I struggled with really early on, is like thinking, oh, everybody's motivated the same way I am, and they're just going to do the job. They need to do a job, they're going to do it. No, you need to be hitting these different triggers and what motivates them along the way to get them to do that. And everybody's different.
100%. And that's something that, I mean, we've lost people in Clinical Marketer because we didn't fully understand like the weight of this. Like we thought we did because we've heard this information, but until you go through it, you never truly know. You got to have that context. You got to have that like experience almost to truly get it. But in order to elevate from business manager to a business owner, this is the lesson that you have to learn. You have to, one, be tracking everything, because you have to be able to make informed decisions, not gut or decisions or based off emotion. You have to be able to make numbers-based decisions, especially when it comes to your teams. So you need to understand how to motivate your people, what their vision is for them. How can you fit their vision within the scope and vision of your practice? And then how are you going to measure their performance on a monthly basis? How are you going to convey their results back to them? And how are you going to get them bought in and help them identify what's like the main thing that we need to work on next in your personal development, and then come up with training plans. That's something that we do with all of our salespeople now, where if they're every single month we have a review, we look at their numbers, I ask them like, where do you feel you're the weakest right now? And then that's the skill that we're going to focus on for the next 30 days. And after that meeting, we schedule 2 training calls where during that call, we either review one of their sales calls, some of their emails or outreach, or whatever it might be, and we just go through it and talk about it together. So that way, it doesn't take a ton of time. We have a monthly review, and then we just have 2 trainings each month with people. And if they no longer need that because they're killing it, then great. But since doing that, it's been a massive shift in not only the culture, but like the performance of everyone on the team, because everyone's growing together. And until you learn how to train and lead your people like that, you don't get to ascend into the next stage, which is not the best stage, but I mean, it's the first time you taste real freedom when it's real business ownership and it passes the bus test. You want to break that down for us, Ben?
Yeah, it's pretty much the hit by the bus test. So if like you were hit by a bus, what would happen to your business? Like would it survive? Would it not? And if it wouldn't survive, then you failed the test miserably, right? That's because you're too worked in the day to day. Like I can confidently say, like if something happened to me, that the business would be fine. And that's something too that I think some people struggle with when they start building a team is like, oh crap, I'm responsible for other people's income and livelihood. I need to get my shit together. I need to get this business and systems automated. So like, hey, if something did happen to me, I don't have, 4 or 5 other families that are going to suffer because of it too. So
Right.
that can be a driving factor for people. And it was for me for sure to make sure I got, because I'm no longer just responsible for my income and livelihood, but I'm responsible for, now over 15 different families. And so it's my responsibility and ethical obligation to build this business out and make it self-sustainable for these people too, not just myself.
Right. And I mean, that's a really, really good point because it is insanely risky to run a business and have your sole income depend on your well-being and your motivation and your health every single day. It's so risky, especially if you have a family and they're depending on you because anything could happen and your income's now shot. And I think that's why a lot of people start to grow this. But at this stage, you're now mastering like building systems, leading people, and handing off most of the things within the business. And this is a really, really exciting time, but it is definitely challenging. Like handing off the things that you feel you're the best at is a really scary and difficult thing to be able to get through. But at the end of the day, whatever the owner, whatever the entrepreneur feels like they're the best at, where they have the most experience and the most skill, eventually that is going to become the biggest bottleneck within the business because that's the last thing you're willing to give up. Did you have any issues handing anything off at any point when you were starting to delegate?
Yeah, I didn't have a trouble handing patients off to a new PT,
Mm,
but I did really struggle with handing off the phone calls and the
yep.
sales component of it because I know how that's really just a lifeline of the business. And maybe it was easier for me to hand off to another PT because I was a new grad and like they're better than I am anyways. So it made it a lot easier to hand off patients in that sense. But yeah, I held on to that first phone call for way too long.
Yep.
Maybe not too long, but I did it for a long time. And that was something I really struggled to hand off because it was so pertinent to the success of the business. But I'm glad I held on to it because it made it airtight and allowed me to be able to more effectively train somebody when I was ready to do so
Right.
because I had been so well versed in it and I knew it inside and out on how to be successful in it.
Right. And I honestly, I think that's the smartest way to grow and scale a practice. Get out of treatment first and focus on honing in the sales because you do have to train someone eventually on how to be able to do that. And you have to have that experience to be able to like make it happen quickly. Otherwise, you're going to get trapped back in the business again. So I think that's brilliant. One other thing that I wanted to highlight that you said that's also like such an important thing to realize when you're in the business owner stage of this and you're trying to work on delegating yourself and removing yourself entirely is that you no longer your job is no longer the well-being of your patients. Your patients are no longer your customer as the owner. Once you reach this stage, you can't move on to the final stage, which is the investor stage, which is the most fun stage to be in until you realize this one truth, which is your customer is now your staff. You have a massive team, Ben, and it is now your job to make sure that their families are fed, that they're taken care of, and that their dreams are coming true. And if you can take care of your employees will take care of your patients. And until you can master that and build systems around that, where you can pass the bus test and hand off the leadership and the management of that team, which Ben, if you want to touch on that, I think that's a really good topic too. You don't get to fully pass the bus test to move into the investor stage.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to be able to we talk a lot about patient experience, but now
Mhm.
you gotta start thinking about employee experience and what
Yep.
does that look like, right? And the nice thing is like being in a cash-based practice, what I love this model too, is it's much more friendly. It's much easier
Yeah.
to give somebody work-life balance and allow them to treat patients how they want to, just because of the model for which it is. So just by being a cash-based model versus insurance, you've already got a massive leg up on being able to provide an environment that is employee friendly and going to get them a platform to be successful in the role and be satisfied as
Right.
well. So
Yeah, and this is such a hard lesson that I had to learn. It's like at this stage, before you can become an investor, you have to get yourself out of the day to day. You have to delegate everything and you have to empower your team, because once you get in the later stages of your business, your team doesn't need to see you working your face off. Your team doesn't need you to be lost in the weeds and leading the fight, from the front. They need to know that they have someone that they can count on, that's watching their back, that they can go to for help when they need it, that they can go to for training and development and personal growth and life, even some like personal growth. They need to have a leader that they can count on when they need it. They don't need you lost in the weeds. And when you can truly be there for them to focus purely on their experience and their development as individuals, that's when you have a team culture that kind of takes over the growth of your business, and you build a team that builds your business for you. And that's the ultimate dream. That's when you become a true investor, where you get to, be like Ben, who's now investing in real estate. He's investing in other practices. He's truly set himself free. And Ben, obviously, there's things that have to be managed within the clinic, but 5 years after starting this practice, you truly do just work on what you want to work on, because that's just who you are at this point. You just enjoy the work and the growth of it. But can you break down a little bit about what the stage is like, and kind of reflect on, if you ever actually thought you'd be at this point this quickly?
yeah, definitely not this quickly at all. But no, it's fun to be able to push on the gas, pull back on the gas when you want to, not
Yeah.
be pedal to the metal all day long, because you need to be able to do that to be able to continue to pay bills and keep the business afloat. I can kind of just go as hard at it as I want to, and depending on what my energy level's at and what my mood's at as well, and what I want out of life. And that's the thing too, is I don't have family yet, but the greatest peace of mind is knowing that when I do have a family, that I have this capability to do that and whatnot.
Right.
It's not as important right now since I'm single, but when I have a family and stuff, I know it's gonna be even more impactful than it already is, to be able to pull back and as I need to.
That's right. And I know you and I have had a ton of talks on this, both within content and both within just like when we're hanging out. Like, everything we do is so that when we do have a family, we can give 100% of ourselves to it. And in order to have that true financial and time freedom, you have to go through the 5 stages of cash physical therapy success. And you can get there so much faster than you think. It starts as a side hustle, then you become a job owner, then you become a business manager, where you're really just a people manager, because that's when you're starting to delegate. Once you master how to delegate, you become a business owner, because now that business can operate without you, because you have systems, you have operations, you have people in place to do the day-to-day stuff. And then once you master that leadership, once you master the cultural development of your team, that's when they start to take over building the business for you. Where you've built a culture and you built a team that builds the business on your behalf. That's when you get to become an investor. That's when you have true power and leverage within your life, where you can take off and fly to California to hang out with your business partner, which is where I am right now. And Ben and I have an epic weekend planned of business development, of hanging out, of celebration, all sorts of awesome stuff. So believe in yourself, and just know that everything can happen so much faster than you think. Ben's life is completely transformed within 5 years, where he's now running the most profitable cash physical therapy practice probably in the world. Kayla, whose story we started this podcast with, went from completely trapped in a job she hated, stressed and anxious over not knowing how to get patients, to now running a multiple 5-figure clinic where she's only working 3 days a week, and the rest of the time she's spent working with her family. So whatever you vision, just know it's not crazy. It's not outlandish to believe that you can have what most people don't, because the reality is most people aren't willing to take the action to even see if it's possible. And if you just take that step, if you just try and put in the effort and let that compound over 6, 12 months, you would be amazed at what you're able to accomplish. Ben, any closing thoughts?
Nope, nope. I think it's solid, and yeah, you're so much closer to just one or two decisions away, and to a completely different life. And I say it all the time, probably every other podcast, but it's the most important thing that I think people need to hear and whatnot. So take the jump, make the leap, and you won't regret it. You just got to think about too, like, what's the action of not making that jump.
Right.
Also do a trajectory and like, hey, where if I keep going on this track, where am I going to end up? I promise that is a lot scarier than taking the jump.
Right. What's the worst that could happen? Right.
Yep.
So everyone, if you want our help mastering your lead acquisition so that you can get out of the side hustle stage, get out of the and be in the job ownership stage, where you can start to have the opportunities to start to build the team, buy back your time, and have financial freedom in a heck of a lot faster time frame than you think possible, click the link beneath this video, fill out an application, and Ben and I would love to review it and see if you'd be a good fit to partner up with us to help grow and scale your practice to make your dream cash physical therapy lifestyle happen for you. So thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video and share it if you got value out of it. But have a great day, and we'll